Mary Jane McLeod was born a long, long time ago in 1875 in South Carolina on her parents' small farm. Mary's parents had 17 children. Mary was the 15th child. Mary was the only member of her family to go to school and receive an education. Her brothers and sisters were needed to work on the family farm. However, it wasn't an easy thing for Mary to go to school. She walked about 5 miles to school each day, and then she walked home again. How would you feel if you had to walk 5 miles to get to school? Mary didn't mind. Going to school was a privilege that few African American children had, especially girls. A privilege is an honor or advantage that someone has. Mary was an excellent student. She learned easily and quickly. Mary would race home each day to teach her brothers and sisters the things that she had learned at school. Mary also taught her neighbors' children. Mary's family was so proud of her. When someone is proud, they feel a sense of honor or satisfaction. When Mary was 13 years of age, she received a scholarship to study at a school for African American girls. When someone receives a scholarship, it means they are given money or an opportunity to study with little or no cost. The school was called Scotia Seminary in North Carolina. Mary's mother was so proud of her. She made her a special dress so that Mary would look nice when she went to her new school. Mary was sad to leave her family. They were sad to see her go, but everyone knew that Mary was going to do wonderful things with her life. After attending Scotia Seminary, Mary received another scholarship. This time, it was to a school in Chicago. After graduating, Mary returned to South Carolina to become a teacher at the school she had once attended. Mary was determined to educate young African American children, and no one was going to stop her. After several years of being a teacher, Mary decided to start a school of her own. She especially wanted to teach African American girls, as many still did not receive an education. Mary had heard about a town in Florida called Daytona Beach. A new railroad was being built there, and many of the workers were African American men. The workers' families lived in camps. Their children did not go to school, and the men earned just about enough money to feed their families. Mary saw this as a great opportunity and came up with a plan. With just $1.50 in her pocket, Mary moved to Daytona Beach, Florida, and opened her own school for African American girls. A kind woman offered Mary a place to live. A friend helped her find an empty house that later became the new school. Old broken furniture was fixed. Boxes and packing crates from local stores became desks and chairs. And in the autumn of 1904, Mary opened her own school. In the beginning, there was just 6 students, including Mary's own son. Gradually, more and more students came. Each girl paid 50 cents a week for tuition. Mary taught them cooking and sewing, as well as reading, writing, and math. There was never enough money, so Mary baked pies and cookies to sell. Not everyone liked what Mary was doing. One night, while Mary was at school, all the street lights went out. When Mary looked out into the street, she saw a group of people gathered together. They intended to scare Mary in hope that she would close her school and leave town. How do you think Mary and the students felt when they discovered that some people wanted to scare them away? Mary would not be bullied. As a group of people stood in the pool of the light, Mary and the frightened girls watched and began to sing songs. Here the word pool means a small area filled with light. Before long, the people scattered. What does the phrase, "the people scattered," mean? 3 years later, Mary moved her school to a new location, a 32-acre farm with 14 buildings. The 400 students at the school grew their own food. Mary was very proud of what she had achieved. What does the word proud mean? Later, Mary's school joined with a school for African American boys and eventually became the Bethune-Cookman University. Mary's school started with the 5 young African American girls and her son. It eventually became a 4-year university with over 1,000 students that still exists today. Mary became president of the school. However, Mary wasn't quite finished. There was more work to be done. Mary opened up her own hospital. Many African Americans received treatment in Mary's hospital. How would you describe Mary's personality? In addition to promoting education and healthcare, Mary joined forces with various groups who were campaigning for the right for women to vote. Healthcare is a medical care that people receive. As you have already discovered, in the early 1900s, women could not vote. What is the word that means the right to vote? During this time, African American men did have the right to vote, but they weren't always able to. In order to vote, men had to be able to read and write. Mary held classes at night so that African American men who had not had the opportunity to go to school could learn these skills and therefore be able to vote. Because she believed all people had the right to an education and had to have books to read, Mary opened up a library that provided free reading material to anyone who wanted it. Mary was doing amazing things. Once again, people tried to scare Mary away. They did not like what she was doing. Mary ignored them and continued to work. Mary always believed in the power of education. "The whole world opened to me when I learned to read," she once said. Why do you think Mary thought reading was so important? Mary's efforts had not gone unnoticed. 3 U.S. presidents asked Mary for advice. President Coolidge invited her to attend his child welfare conference. President Hoover asked her to head up the White House Conference on Child Health. And President Roosevelt named her as Special Advisor on the Minority Affairs. For many years, Mary worked closely with Eleanor Roosevelt. She was the first African American woman to become head of a federal agency or organization. The word federal refers to a central government that has far-reaching powers. Mary wanted all African Americans to become fully involved in American society. A society is a community of people who live together and share many of the same beliefs and experiences. Mary received many honors for her work. She received the Spingarn Medal for her efforts in educating African Americans. This medal is given each year by the National Association for Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, to an African American. As you have already heard, Mary was part of a group of advisors known as the Black Cabinet. Mary herself asked President Roosevelt to choose more talented African Americans for important jobs. In 2008, the United States elected an African American president. Without people like Mary, it's possible that this might have never happened. Mary McLeoud Bethune died on May 18, 1955. On July 10, 1974, 99 years to the day after Mary's birth, a statue of Mary was placed in Lincoln Park in Washington, D.C. Mary was the first woman and the first African American to be honored in this way. A portrait of Mary hangs in the state capitol of South Carolina, a great honor for women who have fought against discrimination and worked tirelessly for young African Americans. What does the word discrimination mean?